Hello YouTube, Richard Scott here. I want to talk to you about honey and the good things about it and what's going to happen to it over time. Honey will change. To go from this nice runny liquidy honey that see the bubble rising in there just fine, tastes good, smells good, looks like honey, but over time, if it's the real deal, it's going to turn into that. This is crystallized honey. It is hard as a brick. This honey is about 2 or 3 years old and it's been sitting in a cold house, and over time it will crystallize, and nothing's wrong with it. Don't throw out crystallized honey. And some people want it crystallized. I've talked to plenty of people that put it in coffee or they put it in warm tea and it will break down the crystals just fine. Some people spread it on bread, on toast. So what do you do if you want to go from that back to that? Pretty easy process, but why does it do that? First off, honey is made out of 2 natural occurring sugars. That's fructose and glucose, and there's also water in there. It's a super saturated solution. So over time, the water and the glucose will separate, especially as the moisture decreases in honey, and that will happen. No matter what you do, it's going to happen. So over time, there will be a separation between water and glucose, and that's the crystals you see. That's basically that right there. So it's easy to turn it back into its original solution, which is the nice liquidy bubble rising type of honey, and it's not hard to do. You just heat it up, but you got to be careful. You don't heat it up too much, because if you do that, you could destroy the natural occurring enzymes in there that is beneficial to you. So we want to avoid that. Don't want to heat it too much. Still want it good for you. So let's show you how to do that process. All right, so there's many ways to heat up honey, but this is the way I like to do it. Put a pot of water in here and bring it up to about 120 degrees. Don't really want to go any hotter than that. And you see my thermometer's just now getting to about 120. If you don't want to be too fancy with the thermometer, just stick your finger in there. Make sure you can stick your finger in there without scalding your skin off. Yeah, it feels really hot to the touch, but it's not boiling. Again, it's about 120 degrees. You can go up to 125, but if you see, there is a light steam on that. So what do? Just turn the temperature off, turn it off, leave it on the heat. Stick your bottle of honey in here. You want it to get it all the way up to the top of where the honey is. So if you got a full jar of honey, you'll want to raise the water all the way to the top. My honey stops there, so that's where I'm going to stop the water line. Otherwise, it will begin to float because there's air in the top of this bottle. So let it sit in here. We've turned the heat off. Let it sit in here for about an hour or so, and that should decrystallize the honey. This is very, very solid, so it may take another try of doing that. If so, pull the honey out, bring the temperature up to about 120 degrees, or again, stick your finger in there and make sure it doesn't burn your skin off, and turn the heat off, put the honey back in there. May have to do that once or twice if it's hard as a rock, like this is. This is hard as a rock. So we'll come back in an hour and see if we've gotten it totally decrystallized. All right, so it's been an hour, and see the honey is still fairly crystallized. It's moving some, it's liquidy a little bit, but again, it still has a little work to do. So what we'll do is pull it out, turn on the heat, and again, just like last time, pull out my thermometer, see what the temperature is now. And what we want to do is warm it up to 120 degrees. So I'll wait just a few minutes, test it again, then we'll put the bottle of honey back in, turn the heat off, and let it sit for an hour. And we'll check again. Looks a little bit better. Still a little bit of crystallization, but not much at all. I'll probably leave this in there a little bit longer since the water's still fairly well hot. But that's it. Eventually this will turn exactly how it was when you bottled it. Tastes the same, everything's the same, no difference. So yeah, don't ever throw out honey that's crystallized, because you can get it right back to liquid if you want it to go back to liquid. Again, some people don't. So that's just my preference.